Clematis pruning groups. There's 3 pruning groups. How I learned this, no formal training when it came to clematis. I was very young, I think it was 22 years old, and I ended up getting a timber press hip pocket guide to clematis. And this is where I learned, but I've always been in love with clematis. Even though I don't get the love, doesn't get returned sometimes with some varieties of clematis. They have a tendency to just huff and puff and get really upset randomly for no reason, where it just literally just the whole thing dies down in the ground. You cut it thinking it's dead, but I've learned with clematis, I just leave it alone. And then it shoots up 3.5 feet in 2 weeks. Like, I don't get it. Clematis is weird. My favorite clematis is the Arctic Queen. I think the Arctic Queen is the most beautiful clematis out there, and it's a pruning group too. So there's 3 pruning groups. Pruning group 1 only grows on ripened wood, so wood from last year. You very rarely ever prune that one, or at all, because when you do, you are not going to get any blooms for a full year, and why have a clematis and all the problems that come along with clematis if you're not going to get those gorgeous blooms. Pruning group 2 is it's going to bloom on ripened wood first. That's its first big flush. In the case of the Arctic Queen and some of the other double bloomers, that's when you're going to get your double bloom out of your clematis, is in that first flush in pruning group 2. The second flush, its fall flush, is usually going to be a single petal. So it's not going to have triple petals like, you know, a big puffball of petals. It's just going to have a single petal like a standard clematis. And then pruning group 3 is usually comprised of the smaller flowering clematis, like the sweet September, the sweet autumn clematis. Those are only going to bloom on new growth. So that's a lot of the times you will train it along a fence and it will just bloom where it's getting basically sunlight. So what I like to do in those, I really like those. Those are my favorite. They're very, very tough. They're very tough. They usually get very big. They're usually 15 to 20 footers. I like to trim those like I'm trimming a hedge, right? And get somewhat in the summertime and get some good, train them along the top of the fence like I was normally gonna do, and then trim them really good middle of June, early July, and try to get a bunch of new flushes out of them so then they can in turn push blooms. But again, I don't attack the main stem. I just go after those kind of scraggly pieces that are on the outside.